Okay, hello all you crazy people out there. My name is Michael. I like wizards and dragons and making games, and welcome back to 3D tower defense games in GameMaker Studio 2. We have user interface in the last, as of the last video, and it actually, it looks okay for something that's actually only a rectangle, which is drawn stretched and in the appropriate directions with some text on it. We're gonna make these do things today, these buttons. So, as of right now, if I were to just click on the ground, no questions would be asked, you would place a tower. That is going to change. For one, it is, I think, time to only place a tower if you want to place a tower. Let's see, I will be making some changes to the screaming left mouse button interaction. Let's see. This is, okay, yes. I'm looking editor stuff, gameplay stuff. This is where a tower may be spawned. And or selected if you click on one. Nothing happens if you try and select a tower. No stats appear or anything like that. One is just spawned. And let's see where that is defined. All right, tower type is hard-coded to be tower_pebbles. We're going to change that. Let's say make a variable, player tower spawn. And it's going to be initialized to undefined. And tower type is going to be replaced with player tower spawn. All over the freaking place. And we're going to first check if this is, that should be a double ampersand. We're first going to check if player tower spawn is a truthy value. Why is this highlighted? Oh, I see. This was if you hold the shift key. If you hold the shift key, you will create the alternate version. That is not really a concern right now. Right now, if I were to click on the ground, nothing would happen. Because player tower spawn is always going to be undefined. There's no way to make it not undefined, and that code will never run. We can say game.player. No, okay, fine. Player tower spawn is going to equal, let's say game.towerpebbles. Like this is going to make something happen, at the very least. So if I click on one of those buttons and click, now something will happen. You'll notice that I can now spawn infinitely, and if I were to restart the game, all the buttons would do the same thing. So what instead I'm going to do, I think, is one, so that you can't just spawn infinitely after selecting a button, spawn tower. We are going to, okay, here we go. We are going to set this back to undefined when we are done. That's going to cause one tower to be created, and then the state of that value will be reset. So I can't spawn anything. I click, I can spawn something. I click something else. I can spawn something again. They're all the same tower. That solves that problem. Let's commit that change. Next. Each of these buttons should do something different. So I could create a million versions of a UI button and give each of them a separate on-click behavior. I'm not going to do that. I could give them all a variable like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, some enumerated constant, and say, and like switch the variable. Case 0, spawn a tower pebbles. Case 1, spawn a tower fire. I'm not going to do that either. I am going to use my old friend, the method callback. And that is going to contain some code, which is nothing by default. And we are going to say, when you click, execute the onClick method callback. And this is going to allow us to give different UI buttons different behaviors when you click them. I can go to... Unfortunately, I can't just make this a variable definition the way I could with something like text or a number or something like that. I guess I could make it an expression, but that would, like, at that point, why bother? I'm just going to use good old creation code for this. So if we go to creation code... And I don't know if this needs to be marked as a method either, but it doesn't really matter since the buttons themselves don't exactly contain information. We can say player tower spawn is going to equal tower pebbles. Otherwise, in this one, let's just copy that and modify it. In this one, game player tower spawn is going to equal tower fire. And I don't know if you can hear the wind, like, slamming against my windows, but it is really extraordinarily windy today. And I can hear it. It's very loud and slightly distracting. What's the last one? Tower buff. Okay. So this is going to come with some problems, such as... Let's see. I'll get to those in a minute. So first, I click, nothing happens. I select Pebble Shooter, and I spawn one of those. I select Fire Tower, and I can spawn one of those too, although I think they're pretty much the same thing since I haven't exactly implemented Fire Towers. Friendly Encouragement. I click, spawn a blue tower as desired. The problem is going to come in if I select Pebble Shooter and if I click in such a way so that, for example, one of the buttons, my mouse cursor is over one of the buttons, but it's also over the ground, and it's intersecting the ground, and its tower is spawned when I click the button, which is obviously kind of undesirable. So I'm going to, fortunately right now, I think I can be done with this. Fortunately right now, there's not really any buttons that are set up in such a way that that could happen. There aren't any buttons that are like overlapping the ground. But when I add more of them later on, that will be a potential problem. And I think the easiest way to do that would be to also keep opening that. Would also be to keep track of a variable if to check to see if the mouse is over a user interface element. I could do something like player I try to use the word cursor instead of mouse, and I don't know why. We could set this to false. We could set it to false every time the user interface elements are rendered. And then if this condition is met, it could just be set to true, and it's reset every game update every time anything is drawn. Next, we could actually use that. So before you detect the click, if not, the player's cursor is over the UI, or I should say in English, if the player's cursor is not over the UI, then don't do this. And then, so that I can illustrate how this is a... All right, first I'll illustrate the problem, the actual problem. Let's comment this out like that. So this is no longer actually being part of the code. So if I were to click on, let's say, Pebble Shooter and click on Friendly Encouragement, you see when I click the Friendly Encouragement button, a tower is spawned beneath the button, which is not really what you want. If there's already something like select for you to build, you don't want it to be slapped down if you, for example, change your mind. But if I uncomment this, I should have moved the button down there to show the problem to begin with, but better late than never, I suppose. If I uncomment that, then this will no longer be the case. So I click, build one of those towers, click again, click the other button, and nothing is built, which is what we want. I can move this back now. I kind of feel like these buttons are kind of big. I don't know if I like how much space they take up and how much of the game world they overlap. I don't want to go too crazy with UI, but we'll see if I have to. There's probably going to be, like, I don't know, money and lives up in this corner in the upper left, or they are right now, just in a little bit of a nicer design. Okay. That code works. I can commit that change. All right. Next, I think I want to draw like a phantom version of a tower, which is having the ability to be built, much like if I were to go into edit mode. Let's see, in some situations, you would be able to see like a phantom version of, let's see, what is it, F12 to move to a new location of the object that you had selected, like this. And I think I'm going to be doing the same thing with towers before you place it down, so that you like know where you are placing things. There's also the matter of collision when you build stuff. I don't know if I want to take that on now, or possibly next week, or possibly much later. I'm going to not allow myself to be preoccupied by that right now. What was I doing? In the render function, I think I can collapse the save and load map functions now. In the render function, if you're looking at the editor, there is... Oh. Okay, so that code to draw the fancy flashing version of the thing is in tower render, entity render. It's in one of them. That's entity foe with all the stats and stuff. Entity tower buff. It's in here, and it works like this. All right, so before this is drawn, or before anything's drawn really, let's say if player's tower spawn has a value, then that's going to be one of these archetypes. And if player tower spawn has a value, just draw its 3D model. All right, what is that? Because I haven't looked in here in a while. It is just going to be that model. Okay. What was that code I was just looking at? Here it is. So if player tower spawn has a value, then we will do all this. We will be messing with the shaders, and we know that, so we don't have to put an if statement around that. We are not checking to see that the entity calling this code is the selected model, because we are just doing that directly. Shader set, shader selected, shader set uniform, time, color can be... I feel like I've gotten to the point where I need to start like writing down these values instead of just magic numbering them. But let's first camera.get floor intersect. Okay, that's how this code works. So we're going to be grabbing the floor intersect. We are going to be moving just make that a 0. We're going to be moving the transform to that position. The scale and rotation are not going to be relevant. And to get rid of a couple lines of code that I don't need, that are just taking up space, I can just put this into matrix set directly, because we're not doing multiple steps to the transform. Base model instead of whatever it is going to be player tower spawn.model. Like that. So now we should be able to see a flashing version of the tower that we want to spawn. And we do not, because this just blew up in my face. How is it used? I feel like that should be correct. Okay, so this needs to be this. We need to check this for a truth value also. All right, here we are. Checking that for a truth value. No null pointer exceptions here, good sir. This video is actually moving faster than I was expecting it to. That's not something I do too often. Whoa, what on earth is happening here? Am I in the wrong event or something? What exactly is going on? That does not look normal whatsoever. Oh, that's because it's scale. Oops. Floor intersect X, Y, Z. is in the scale, and it was zeroed out on the vertical axis, so that it was very wide and completely flat. Let's try that again. Much better. So that's how it looks. That's not bad. I'm going to commit that change. I'm also going to get to... What changed here? Did I move an object? What? Oh, that's because I moved it back from the ground, apparently, before committing it or whatever. So I said I was going to do something with shader get uniform, shader set uniform, the color parameter, and let's see, I can go into macros. I have a macro script. Let's see, I guess I can call it like macro Phantom Tower R is going to be some value. Let's make it one. There's no equals there. For now, I'll make it white. And alpha's always going to be 1. There's no like, I'm not going to mess with transparency here. Red, green, blue. I don't think that's the first time I've done that here. Mix up the order of red, green, blue. I can just, to find other instances of this, let's do a search of the code. I have a feeling this is going to be some section of video that my future self is going to want to speed up to like 1.5 times so that it goes a little faster.
Hey.
To which I say I'm glad video editors have the ability to do that sometimes. Anyway, if I run the game now, some things are all going to be the same color when they're selected or about to be selected, and some things should be the appropriate color. I will work on the others later. Let's see. For example, if I hover over a tree, it's green. If I select the tree, it's white. If I hover over a node, it's green. If I select the node, it's blue because it's already white because that's the default color, and I can't have white flash to white because you wouldn't be able to see that. If I build a tower, it's gonna be flashing white. If I place it, it's gonna be flashing white. Do I want to make white like the universal selected color? Also, for nomenclature, let's not call it select tower, let's just call it tower. Because select is kind of implied. And then there can be a hover also for when you're about to select a tower. Given that environment entity's hover is green and path entity hover is blue, I think it's appropriate. Oh no, those are also green. Do I want everything to be green? Sure. Not that picky. User testing later will tell me if that's actually a good idea or not. Okay, I think I'm going to mirror the environment entity hovering code a little bit for towers so that you can like detect whether or not you're hovering your cursor over a tower before you actually click. Firstly, we will assume a duplicate. Let's call it selected entity hover, like this, and copy that down there so that the shader is properly reset. Shader set selected, shader set the uniform for time, and then much like this, we're going to set the color based on whether the tower is actually selected or if you're just hovering over it. Okay. Tower red, green, blue. Tower hover red, green, blue. All right. Selected entity hover doesn't exist yet. It will soon. And by soon, I mean starting like now. All right. Editor hover entity is just is set pretty much at the start of editor mode, as long as you're in the mode. So I can instead gameplay mode here. Let's also say that you can't do any of these shenanigans. Get under cursor. Let's also say that you can't do any of the get hover shenanigans if you're got your cursor over a button. All right, now I just need to initialize the false, or undefined rather, at the beginning of this event, or my fake events anyway, and also actually up here. Selected entity hover and editor hover entity, again, nomenclature sucks. Could be the same variable, but I do want to keep the editor stuff and the gameplay stuff separate. At least where I have the patience to. Alright, so let's spawn one of you. And DS list size, incorrect value, expecting a number. Line 159. Get under cursor. Oh, it takes a parameter? Oh, I see. Okay, also, I slightly messed this up because that code only runs when the mouse is clicked. So we're going to want to break this up into these two things. You also don't need to fetch the entity under the cursor twice. You can just you can get what you're hovering over first, and then if you click the button, you can reassign that to something else. Okay. I can read my own code. Let's see, build, and then it does indeed flash green when I hover over it. So all the colors can be dealt with later. I may or may not even keep this shader, this flashing effect. I think it's okay. It doesn't really do anything for me. I don't know if it's bothersome to other people. This is one of the other things I should like ask around about to see what people think. Speaking of which, a while ago, and I don't think I've addressed this since then, someone suggested that the realistic-ish skybox and the very extremely colorful low-poly 3D models kind of clash. Yeah. I haven't really put any thought into the skybox except to actually like have one there so that there's not just a void. But when it comes to aesthetic, there should probably be some other some more appropriate thing in the background. All right. Those guys are moving. This one tower can't really do anything on its own because it's only able to hit the foes for a brief window of time when they swing around at the end. There's also the matter of the bullets are still kind of traveling kind of slowly, and they are often missing their targets, as you can see. And I died. But that's all right, let me commit this change. And let me just increase the speed at which towers will fire. Not like the frequency or anything, the actual speed. Tower data. Guess that's not it. Sit up here. Shoot. Alright, the enemy bullet is, or your bullet entity. Entity bullet is shot at a speed of 6. Again, let's unmagic numberify that and make it like 10 or something. And this is kind of a 2D polar coordinate thing. I don't know if a tower is like... I can't just click to spawn something anymore, can I? I don't know if a tower is like on a hill or something, if it would be a good idea to make a 3D polar coordinate system so that height can kind of be taken into account too. Anyway, let me spend some more money building towers here. So here, this is good old tower defense strategy. I can hit these foes multiple times on the same track with the same tower, and they take damage at the beginning, and then they take damage when they swing through this crossroads, and then they take damage again when they come back, and then finally they take damage over here near the end when they go past the original two, which is very desirable for this type of game. Let's see how this plays out. I've taken down a couple things. Should I build a friendly encouragement tower too? I'm kind of pretending that the path is not something you can build on, despite the fact that the path is indeed something you can build on. Let's give you a cheerleader too. Oh, you are firing. You should not be firing. Are you the wrong tower type? Huh. Anyway, I'm down to 4 health. And I seem to be in a pretty good position. I don't know how many waves are there. I don't know how many waves are left. I think that's the last one. No one else is appearing when I hit the space bar. Game balance. Well, I won. Anyway, I think that's enough for today. The buttons do something. The towers can be placed. You can select them. You can hover your cursor over them. You can see when you're hovering your cursor over them. It works. Next time, I do think it's about time that I set it up so that you can't build towers like on top of themselves and on top of everything else, which kind of means collisions. I'm not planning on using a collision system for this. I'm not planning on writing any 3D overlap test code like I did for the raycasts. Since this game exists in 2D space, I think I'm just going to use a grid. If the current cell or cells on the grid which the tower would occupy is taken by either another tower or an environment entity, then you will not be able to build it there. Otherwise, you will build it there, and then the value of the cells in the grid will be updated to reflect that there is a tower there. I work a lot in grid-based games with 3D stuff. It shouldn't be that bad. So, my name is Michael. This has been making a 3D tower defense game in Game Maker Studio 2. I hope you found this interesting. If you want the code for this, it should be down in the video description. Otherwise, I try to post a couple of these videos a week, one of these and one tutorial. I have a Patreon, so if you want to contribute towards these videos being made, there's links to that in all the usual places. Otherwise, that's it, and I will see you all later. Special thanks to Edward Holt, Indie Punch, Jason, and Zenith for supporting these videos. If you want your name in the credits or to hear yourself shouted out at the end, head over to the Patreon page in the video description to join the fun.